So, Brendan, we talked about you getting a little irritation in the mid-back area, kind of right through this area right here, and you've been working a lot on the impact snap, and as well as just working on impact position, and then doing deceleration drills where you kind of get everything to stop with your hands ahead. So when we talk about doing those drills, those are great drills to help you improve your swing, correct some of the positions, help with the sequencing of movement, and it's really going to help. But you also have to consider that they are a little bit extreme. So usually when we go into a new motion with our body, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we really warm up our shoulder blades, our mid-back. Everything should feel really loose. We should practice going into those positions a little bit first, then actually gradually add some of the other training variables, which would be speed or resistance, longer clubs, things that would add different types of load to it. We'd want to have a gradual progression as we go through that. And sometimes I think what we see is people get excited about drills and they want to go ahead and just go full tilt, get right in there and do the drill over and over again. It starts feeling good, but there is a limit to that as well, because your body and your tissues are not fully ready for that. They haven't been trained enough. So what's happening is you're kind of breaking them down. And then if you don't give them enough rest to recover the next day, or maybe even a few days before you come back to that drill, you're going to start having more of a chronic where you're breaking down that tissue. It gets inflamed, aggravated, it leads to pain, stiffness in those areas, and then eventually decreased performance because you won't be able to do it. So a couple thoughts. First thing is continuing to work on your mobility in your warm-up first as a general level, and then gradually working into some slow positional holds, and then adding the speed. And I'll just show you what I mean by that with a few different tools. The second thing is consider making sure that you find a way to balance your body out in two ways. One, with rest, meaning you can't go out and do like 1,000 of these drills in one day after your body hadn't done this really ever and expect it to feel normal. So you have to be smart about this drill. Maybe you do the drill, you warm up really nice, you do 8 or 10 of those different drills, and then you hit some balls, and then you step away from it, then maybe you come back. But the other thing you can do is you can also do some of those drills on the left side. So we've always talked to people about trying to balance out. So if I take some of those similar impact drills and I work on my left action, or I'm getting into the left position, getting the hands into that position, I'm essentially going to be stretching out the muscles that I was using on the other side. So I'm kind of balancing out a little bit. I would never do anything fast that way. Again, slow, controlled movement, practicing positioning the body into that movement. So sometimes one of the best stretches for tightness on one side is just to do the movement to the other side to allow it to open up to the other side and get that tissue to kind of change and give it a rest break, but balance both sides. So that's my first tip. Practice doing some of the impact movements with your hands, even against the wall, but go ahead and do it lefty so that you're in that position there and kind of working through, kind of practicing getting into that movement from that position, okay? Now, what I talked about is you have to warm up generally if you're going to do something at a high speed or deceleration. You have to have tissues moving, tissues need to be responding, they need to be receptive to it. So what I would do is I would do some general mobility for your whole spine, and mostly your mid-back, but do some general spinal mobility exercises, which could be like on hands and knees, doing like kind of cats and dog type stretches, getting the spine moving, pelvic tilts, basic movements like that to get everything loose that way. Then get your back over and do some thoracic extension. So you want to extend like over a ball. So I'm using just like kind of like a basketball. And what I would do is, I've got a couple tools. I'm going to show you just using a lacrosse ball, tennis ball, and also a basketball. So with the basketball, I'll put this in my mid-back right there. And then what I want to do is kind of, it's soft, right? So it's kind of nice, but it hits right in that center of the spine. So then I want to support my neck because I want to strain my neck. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do some slow extensions over this basketball and hold a little bit into that position and breathe. Maybe about 2 breaths. And then go ahead and come back up, let it relax. And I might do this about 2 or 3 times in one spot, and then I'm actually going to move that ball a little further up against support my neck. I don't want my neck doing anything. I'm just relaxed at the neck, okay? Everything in here is in. We're not going way out with our shoulders. So this is all relaxed, and I just get some good extension right through there. So this is reversing that impact position, which is kind of rounded, flexed. And the shoulder blades are going to be in a position of protraction, which is rounded going forward. And this is going to allow us to kind of open up into a little bit of retraction, shoulder blades coming back together. And it's, again, it's the opposite of the motion you've been training or wanting to train all day, just to loosen everything back up. And then come back up. So I might find 2 or 3 spots in my back, in the mid-back, that I go ahead and lay back over kind of a basketball as I do that, okay? The second thing is if I have, say, what we call like little hot spots or little areas that are really sore, I can just go back to the old school, kind of a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, and a sock. So I have a sock, Nike sock, of course, for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and go against the wall. So essentially I'll put it back into a spot that I find in there, and then just lean back on the wall, kind of rotate a little bit, get some mobility that way. So I'll put it into a spot, lean back against that spot that's a little bit sore, and then I can just kind of move up and down a little bit, or even a little side to side. I'm not on my spine. I'll show you again where I'm at, but I'm in the muscles in between the shoulder blade and the spine. And I'm just going to roll that out a little, hit some of those pressure points back and forth. There's no real magic number. It's just work a little bit, move to the other side, back and forth over here. So you're just doing your own self-mobility, your own soft tissue mobility, self-mobility. You can do it on your back, you can do it against the wall, it works great. Okay? So that's going to allow that tissue to release a little before you're actually using it over and over again. Okay? So then, I want to think about the positions that I'm going to use for that impact position. So I have a stretch pole right here, okay? Just a little FYI on this stretch pole. This is the Ryder Cup edition, so nobody has this except for me and anyone who's in the Ryder Cup. And like, you know, Zach Johnson, all these other guys happen to have this edition. So pretty cool that I have this, and I love it. So this stretching pole can be really good to help my body kind of get a little bit of stretch into that position. So what I would do is, I'm going to try to work on my mid-back a little bit, and I'll just go opposite. So if I take my hands and I set my hands a little bit over this way, towards the left, got my thumbs up. I'm then just going to kind of relax, really relax, but then I'm going to gently turn my hips back towards the right. That's going to stretch through that mid-back area. I'll hold that a little, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back up. Everything loose, everything relaxed. Go over to here. Set up in here a little bit, and then rotate back the other way. Now again, if you look from my back, you'll see that what's happening is I'm getting some stretch through that mid-back area. Okay? And I'm just going to hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A very low level stretch, very relaxed. Okay? And all I'm doing is I'm kind of stretching that tissue out a little bit, getting it to loosen up that way. Okay? Then I can work into my lats, just more of a general thing. So I'll sit down into it a little bit, stretch my lats, let my head drop between, get everything to loosen up through there. Again, I'm talking maybe 8 to 10 seconds, maybe 2 breaths, just kind of getting everything to really loosen it. Then I can take the club, and I'll do a little bit just kind of opening up with my back here behind, come down, and back here behind. And all this is doing is getting me to open up my shoulders and get this all loosened up. So it's not so much always at the end of the range of motion, but that it gets to take itself through the normal range of motion and free up a little bit. And then I'll take it behind my back this way, from there, and I'll put my hands from that position, and I'll do a little bit of stretch back here, which again becomes a postural thing. So I open everything up, let everything relax, open back up, get that nice stretch through the mid-back as well. I'll get my shoulder blades to open up, okay? So these motions are the opposite opposite of some of the motions that you're doing in your drill, but some of these also are stretching that tissue. They're stretching through that little bit of rounding where I'm down here and I'm getting that tissue to stretch. So I can practice that feeling, because when you go to your impact position, you're in with your hands getting forward like that in there, you're in this position. So you're trying to get that rounded, like extended, really release everything through there, but you're really exaggerating some of this motion and you're stretching it at a high speed, which is going to irritate that tissue. So we got to do it a little bit slow to start. Okay? So these are some strategies for general warm-up. So then I can take my bands like this. I use these ring handles, but you could use regular handles as well. And then I'm going to put this around my mid-back right here, right in that area right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and do some movements where I'm getting things to kind of open up. So I'm doing what we call like a scapular punch, where I'm kind of punching out and coming back, right there, back and forth. I can go into a scapular punch, add a little bit of turn, scap, a little bit of slow turn. And again, I'm working into those positions, so I want to go slow. But I want to prep my body for that movement. Okay? Maybe a little more at the impact. Press it, rotate it, hold it, get that feel. Okay, so now I'm getting that little bit of rounding through. So that's a great drill for that. And then, if I have some bands set up with, using a towel or whatever, I can do some active rotation through into that position. So what I do is I set up with my left hand kind of in my impact position there, and then I'll just kind of rotate my body through against it. Because one of the things I know you're working on is your shoulders staying a little bit closed, getting your hands ahead. So that's a stretch. So if I put my hands here, this way, right there ahead, with a little bit of a light band, just hold that, my hand there, but then let my body rotate a little bit through. Now I'm going to stretch this left side like that. Okay? Relax, let it come back, hold it a little bit. Rotate through. Right there. And of course do that on both sides. Alright? So these are some strategies to kind of work into that area. As far as strengthening and building up that area, it goes back to your basics with band work for rowing, shoulder extensions, external rotation, T's and Y's over the ball, things that are going to build back into your shoulder blades, your posture coming back through, maybe basic planks, that's all going to bring it back in. And that'll give you some help with trying to reduce some of this tension in your mid-back between changing up your practice schedule, making sure you don't do too many drills, allowing for some rest, doing a proper warm-up, getting some extension in your back, working on the hot spots of your back with the tennis ball, stretching with the pole, and doing some band work activations. Okay? So try those out and see if that helps you to reduce some of these symptoms in your mid-back from the drills for impact position.